Please comment where you are watching in the world. I'm going to tell this story as if it happened to me, just to simplify things. Like, I'll just say my name is Natalie, but obviously, it didn't happen to me. It happened to someone I know through a friend of a friend. But yeah, for the sake of storytelling, I'll just say it's me. So picture this, Natalie me, is traveling abroad. I'm not going to name the country because I don't want to offend anyone or make it seem like this could only happen there, because honestly, this could happen anywhere. But just know it's a country outside the US, somewhere I had never been, and I was there for a quick trip. Just a few days. Like a little getaway, you know? I was there with my sister, just living my best life, eating good food, sightseeing, having cute little outfits every day. You know the vibe, just being a tourist and loving it. Anyway, one night, we go out for drinks. We're at this bar, and it's actually pretty chill. The music is playing, people are dancing, it's not too crowded, just really good energy. That's when I meet him. We'll call him Sam. He was tall, dark, and honestly super charming. Like, the type of guy who knows exactly what to say. He had this accent that made everything he said sound poetic. I wasn't even trying to meet anyone on this trip, but he just had this vibe. He complimented my earrings, so random, but it made me laugh. We started talking, and next thing you know, we're at the bar for hours just chatting. So we exchange numbers, or whatever the local version of that is, and we start texting. He asks me out to dinner the next night. I'm like, okay, why not? I'm on vacation. I'm allowed to have a little fun. So I go. The dinner's nice. He takes me to this cute little restaurant tucked away in one of those cobblestone alley streets. Super aesthetic. Candlelight, wine, amazing food. But here's the thing, he kept ordering food. Like, so much food. At first, I thought maybe it was just like a cultural thing, hospitality or whatever. But I'm talking like 4 appetizers, a full main course, desserts, multiple rounds of wine. And he kept insisting I eat more. Like, you have to try this. Oh, you'll love this. You're too skinny, you need to eat more. And I'm like, okay, relax, but I didn't think too much of it. Anyway, we hang out for a couple more days, and it's more of the same. Every time we go out, it's a feast. And he's always watching me eat. Like, intensely. I started to get a little uncomfortable, but I also didn't want to be rude, and I figured maybe I was overthinking it. Then comes the last night. I'm flying back to the US the next morning, and Sam is really pushing for me to come back to his place. Like, he's been trying to make it happen the whole time, but this night he's extra about it. We're at dinner, of course, another huge meal, and he keeps asking me like, you're coming back to mine, right? It's your last night, you have to. You leave tomorrow, don't you want to spend the night together? And I'm like, but something in me was just like, no. Something felt off. He wouldn't let it go. He was pressing and pressing. So I excuse myself from the table and pretend to take a phone call. I call my sister and I'm like, hey, I need you to come get me. Just say it's an emergency or something. She plays along, and I go back to the table like, oh no, my sister needs me. Something came up. I gotta go. He looks disappointed, like visibly irritated, but he doesn't say much. I leave and go back to the hotel with my sister, and that's it. I'm like, phew, thank God that's over. But no, it's not over. The next morning, I get on my flight. I'm feeling fine, just tired. I get back to the US, get settled, and start getting back into my normal routine. A few days go by, and I notice this weird rash on my back. At first, I think it's just irritation from my clothes, or maybe a reaction to the hotel sheets or something. But it starts spreading. It's like red and patchy, and it starts to itch like crazy. So I make an appointment with my dermatologist. I tell her the whole story. Well, not the Sam part, but about traveling, the rash, that I just got back from overseas, and I'm not sure what's going on. She takes a sample and sends it off for testing. She's like, we'll call you when the results come in. A couple days later, I'm walking across campus, just a normal day. My phone rings. It's my dermatologist. But she's not like, hey, your results are ready. She's like, call me back right now. And I'm like, okay, chill. I call her back and she's like, I need you to come to the office immediately. The police are going to be here. I'm like, excuse me, what? She's like, just come. I can't explain over the phone. I'm freaking out. I call my sister and we both head to the office. I'm thinking maybe there's some weird infection. But when I get there, it's not just the police. It's the FBI. They take me into a room and start asking me questions like, have you met any new people in the last 6 months? Anyone overseas? Did you go into anyone's home? I'm like, yeah, I met this guy named Sam. We went out a few times while I was abroad, but I never went back to his place. They look at each other and one of them goes, that might have saved your life. Turns out, the cream that caused the rash wasn't a normal skin product. It was a topical substance used in preparation for cannibalism. Yeah, you heard me. Cannibalism. Apparently, there are certain chemicals used to tenderize meat, or in this case, human skin, and the cream has compounds only found in those. I'm stunned. I'm like, what the actual hell? The FBI tells me that this is part of an active investigation. They've been tracking this guy, Sam, for some time. When I gave them his name and description, they coordinated with local authorities in his country and raided his apartment. What they found was horrifying. They found multiple human remains, skulls, bones, even full limbs, hidden in his home. Some of the women had been reported missing months earlier. They believe he was targeting tourists, women traveling alone or with little protection. He would romance them, fatten them up, and then, well, you can guess the rest. They fully believe I was next. The reason he kept feeding me? To plump me up. The reason he wanted me to come to his place that night? That was going to be it. That was supposed to be my last night alive. I can't even explain how sick I felt hearing this. I live in New York City, the usual working, dating, the whole thing. One day, I'm on a dating app. I think it was Hinge or maybe Bumble. Doesn't matter. I matched with this guy, and from the very beginning, he seemed like a total catch. Like, not just attractive, but stable. He had a good job, lived in the city, seemed super respectful in his texts, and just had this overall energy that made me feel like, okay, this one might actually be normal. We talked for a few weeks, just casually messaging back and forth, nothing too intense. He wasn't love bombing or being weird or anything. No red flags. Like zero. That's the part that really gets me. There were no signs. So eventually he asks me out. We decide on this really cute restaurant near my neighborhood. I remember picking out an outfit and doing my makeup thinking, this might actually be a good one. So I show up, and he's already there waiting. He stands up, pulls out my chair, greets me with a smile. Gentleman vibes. The dinner goes well. He's polite, funny, asks me questions, listens. He's nice to the waitstaff, paid for the entire meal without making it weird. I left thinking, that was actually kind of perfect. We both head back to our separate apartments, and I start winding down. I'm in my comfies, makeup off, scrolling on my phone when I get a text from him. He tells me he lost his key and can't get into his apartment. Apparently, his roommate wasn't home and wasn't responding, and he didn't have a spare key hidden anywhere. I feel bad, obviously, because what would you do in that situation, right? So I'm like, okay, just come over for a bit. You can chill here until your roommate gets back or until you figure something out. I wasn't thinking anything of it. I mean, we just had a great date. He seemed totally safe. I even texted my friend like, he's coming over for a bit, but I think he's cool. Just in case. He comes over, and we're sitting on the couch. We talk for a while. It's chill. He's totally normal. No weird vibes. No creepy behavior. No trying to make a move or being inappropriate. Just two people hanging out after a date. Eventually, I start getting tired. I tell him, hey, I'm going to head to bed. You can stay on the couch for now. Hopefully your roommate answers soon. And here's the moment that changed everything. For no real reason, I go into my bedroom and lock the door. I don't usually do that, like ever. But something in me, something small, quiet, but firm, said, lock the door. So I did. I get into bed, kind of proud of myself for taking that little extra precaution. I scroll on my phone for a bit, and then start dozing off. Everything's quiet. Until about 3 a.m. I wake up to a soft knock on my bedroom door. It's him. His voice is low, calm. Hey, do you have a phone charger in there? Mine's dead, and I need to charge it. I'm still half asleep, like, yeah, there's one on the kitchen counter. Just grab it from there. I don't get up, don't unlock the door, just give him the info through the door. He says, thanks. I hear him walk away, and I roll over, trying to go back to sleep. But I can't. Something's bugging me. I don't know why, but that small voice, the one that told me to lock the door, is back. And this time it's louder. Maybe 5 minutes later, he knocks again. Hey, the charger's not working. Do you have one in your room? Now I'm wide awake. My heart starts racing. I sit up in bed, not saying anything for a second. Then I reply, no, I don't. It's just that one. He goes quiet. I grab my phone and immediately text 911. I explain that I have a man in my apartment who's acting strange, and I feel unsafe. I give them my address. They say officers are on the way. It feels like forever, but maybe 10 minutes later, I hear banging at my front door, police. I hear footsteps, voices, some kind of struggle. Then it goes quiet. Another knock on my bedroom door. This time it's a police officer. "Ma'am, we've cleared the apartment. He's in custody. We need you to come out." I open the door slowly, heart pounding, and step out. What I see next changes everything. My entire living room is covered in plastic. Like full-on plastic sheets, on the floor, on the couch, even on the coffee table. And on the floor next to the couch, a set of power tools. I almost throw up. The officer leads me outside, and I'm in total shock. I keep thinking, what would have happened if I hadn't locked the door? If I had gotten up to give him the charger? If I had let him in for just 1 second? They later tell me he had no intention of waiting for his roommate. The charger excuse was a ruse to get me to open the bedroom door. And the plastic? He had brought it with him. The tools? Also his. And that great date we had? Most likely just a calculated act to gain my trust. I don't even remember getting back into my apartment after that. I stayed with a friend for a few days. Changed the locks. Got a security system. I couldn't sleep without a light on for weeks. The thing that keeps haunting me, though, is how normal he seemed. Like, there was no warning. No creepy text. No weird behavior. Nothing. He was just average. Normal. Nice even. But that's the thing. Sometimes the most dangerous people aren't the ones who look like villains in movies. Sometimes they're the ones who blend in perfectly. The ones who smile, ask about your day, pull out your chair at dinner. So I met this guy on Hinge, which, yeah, maybe that was the first error. Thorn was cute in his pictures, muscular, great smile, seemed outgoing. We messaged for a little while, and he was charming enough. He made me laugh. He seemed to have a decent job. So when he asked me out to get ramen, I said yes. I mean, who says no to noodles? Now here's where things already started to go sideways. I let him pick me up at my house. I never do that. I don't know what was in the air that day. Maybe I was feeling wild. Maybe I was just tired of taking Ubers. But I was like, yeah, sure. You can pick me up. The second I stepped into his car, this beat-up old Jeep, I knew it was a mistake. You guys, it smelled like farts. And not just oops, someone tooted 5 minutes ago kind of farts. Like this Jeep had decades of flatulence baked into every fiber of the seats. I'm talking deep, marinated, seasoned stink. I got in and immediately regretted all my life choices. I'm trying to be polite though, right? So I'm like, hey, can we maybe roll down the window? And Thorn, with all the confidence in the world, goes, oh, I can blast the AC if you're hot. Sir, I don't need cold stink. I need fresh air. So we roll down the windows, and I'm holding my breath like I'm in a sewer. We finally get to the ramen place, and I'm just praying the restaurant smells like anything other than that Jeep. Luckily it does. We sit down, we order, and I'm trying to reset my mood. Like, okay, maybe it'll get better. Maybe the Jeep was a fluke. But no. Thorn starts talking, and talking, and talking. And guess what the subject is? His ex. I kid you not, this man mentions his ex-girlfriend every 5 minutes. At first, it was small things. Like, oh yeah, my ex likes spicy ramen too. Okay, weird flex, but fine. But then it's like, yeah, my ex always used to say the same thing. You actually remind me of her a little bit. And then it goes, we were together for like 6 years, but I just knew she wasn't the one. And I'm sitting there like, then why are you still talking about her like she's your therapist? It was nonstop. I'm trying to bring up literally any other topic, music, travel, favorite pets, bread types. I would have talked about grout if it meant a break from the X Chronicles. But Thorn kept circling back. Now somewhere in the middle of this X fest, I mentioned my ex. Not in a deep, emotional way, just like offhand, in response to something he said. And suddenly, Thorn gets all stiff and quiet. Like he's offended. Like, oh, I can't talk about my ex, but you've been monologuing about yours like you're auditioning for a sad boy documentary? Anyway, the date continues. We finish eating, and he drives me back home. I'm honestly just relieved it's over. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, just smile, thank him, go inside, and block him later. But then he leans in, and I freeze. I didn't want to kiss him. I didn't even want to high-five him. But I was scared. Genuinely. He knew where I lived. And something about his vibe just shifted. I didn't feel safe to reject him. So I gave him a quick, awkward kiss. The kind you give your great aunt on the cheek when you're 5, and she smells like cough drops. And then I bolted. The next day, I don't text him. Obviously. I'm hoping he gets the hint. But no. Thorn comes in hot. He starts messaging me saying things like, "Wow, I guess you were just another girl using me for a free meal." And I'm like, "Sir, I ate half a bowl of ramen and listened to your entire relationship history. If anything, you owe me therapy." I tried to be polite. I said, "Hey, I'm sorry if this didn't go the way you hoped. I just didn't feel a connection." And you know what he says? He tells me I should pay him back for the meal. At this point, I'm kind of scared. Again, he knows where I live. I don't want to set him off. So I'm like, fine, I'll send you half. I Venmo'd him like $15 or something, just to make it go away. And then I blocked him. I wish I could say that's where the story ends, but nope. A couple of days later, I get a message from a random account on Instagram. It's Thorn. He made a burner just to tell me that girls like me are manipulative and trash, and that karma will get me. Like, okay, Gandalf, go cast your spells somewhere else. The whole thing was just gross. It wasn't just the Jeep funk or the ex obsession or the petty Venmo request. It was the way he made me feel like I owed him something. Like I was supposed to reward him for being a mediocre dinner companion with a kiss, a second date, and my undivided loyalty. So yeah, that was my date with Thorn. Lesson learned: never let someone pick you up for a first date, always trust your gut, and if their car smells like a haunted beanbag, just get out. Okay, buckle up because this one is a bit of a roller coaster. I don't even know how to explain it without sounding like I was the villain and the victim all at once. Like, looking back on it, I definitely could have handled things better, but at the same time, some people just don't know when to stop. So yeah, this is the story of the most unnecessarily dramatic situationship I've ever been in, and how it all spiraled from zero to full-blown emotional chaos in literally 10 days. Let's call him Zevin. And let's call me. I don't know Leora. It just feels right. So Zevin and I met on the track team in college. He was one of those guys who flirted with every girl, like, he wasn't even subtle about it. If you were wearing mascara and breathing, he'd be like, "You look amazing today." So at first, I wasn't into it. I mean, everyone knew his vibe. He was funny, sure, and not bad to look at, but I wasn't interested in being another name in the rotation, you know? But then we started texting. It started off casual, playing stupid iMessage games like 8-Ball and Cup Pong, sending dumb memes. Nothing serious. I was bored and he was entertaining. At some point, he started acting like we were more than we were, and it kind of freaked me out. So I ghosted him. Just like, stopped replying. No explanation. I know, not my proudest moment, but I wasn't ready to deal with it, and I figured if we weren't dating, I didn't owe him anything. And that probably should have been the end of it. But of course it wasn't. Months go by. I'm living my life, doing my thing. Then one day, I randomly start texting Zevin again. I was feeling nostalgic, or maybe just lonely, and I remembered that he was actually really easy to talk to. I figured, okay, maybe we can just be friends. I even told him that, like, very clearly. I said, "Hey, I don't want anything romantic. I just miss talking to you." And for a while it was fine. But then he started bringing up the fact that I ghosted him the first time. A lot. Like, every time we talked, he'd throw in a little dig like, "Oh, are you going to disappear again?" Or, "Let's see how long this lasts." And I was like, okay, I get it. I messed up. But if you're going to keep bringing it up, why are we even talking? So I ghosted him again. I know. It sounds bad, but it wasn't just because of the comments. It was also that he started getting super intense really fast. Like, we weren't even dating, and he was acting like I broke his heart. I told him from the beginning that we were keeping it casual, and he was already out here acting like I was his wife who ran off with the neighbor. It was too much. Anyway, time passes again. I'm doing my thing, minding my business, and then it's his birthday. And for some reason, I think I was feeling soft, I decided to text him. Just a simple happy birthday. Nothing fancy. But apparently, that was enough to open the floodgates. He immediately responds like, "Wow, I didn't think I'd hear from you again." And then he starts telling me how happy he is to hear from me, how he's missed me, how he's always wanted to talk again. And I don't know, something about it got to me. Everyone around us, our mutual friends, people on the track team, had always said that Zevin really liked me, that he never stopped talking about me, even when we weren't speaking. So I gave in. Again, we start talking regularly. And this time I'm like, okay, let's actually go on a real date. I owed him that much, right? So we go out, and honestly, it was great. Like, suspiciously great. He was mature, calm, didn't bring up the past, didn't act bitter. It felt like maybe he had grown up a little bit. I let my guard down. The next few days were just as good. We were texting constantly, seeing each other almost every day. And I started thinking, maybe this could actually work. Like maybe after all the weird starts and stops, we were finally in a good place. But oh no, that would have been too easy. Somewhere around day 4 or 5, Zevin starts getting weird. Not in a creepy way, but in an obsessive, suffocating way. He starts talking about being my boyfriend. Like not just hinting, straight up saying things like, when we're official, and I want us to be together for real this time. And I'm sitting there like, we've been talking for 5 days. You don't even know how I take my coffee. It was intense. Every text felt like a mini proposal. Every hangout came with some new plan for our hypothetical future. And it wasn't romantic. It was overwhelming. I felt like he was trying to fast forward into a relationship before I even decided if I liked him like that again. To make matters worse, he kept bringing up the past. Again. Like, remember when you ghosted me the first time? Or, you better not disappear again. And I was like, bro, if you're still mad, why are we doing this? I was getting frustrated, and he was getting clingy, and the whole thing just started to feel heavy. So I made a decision. On what would be our 3rd official date, I was going to break things off. I didn't want to ghost him again. I wanted to be honest and just say, hey, I've thought about it, and I don't think this is going to work. That day, we decided to go bowling. And I was like, okay, we'll just have a chill night, and then I'll talk to him when we go get food afterward. But of course, even bowling wasn't safe. He brought up the ghosting thing again. Like, wow, it's our 10-day talking anniversary. Think you can make it to 11? I tried to laugh it off, but I was already checked out. After bowling, we went to lunch, and that's when he goes, there's something serious I want to talk to you about. And I was like, oh boy, here it is. So I go, you first. I figured I'd let him say whatever he needed to say before I dropped the bomb. And he goes, what are we? I swear, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the timing was just so bad. Like we were literally sitting in a booth at a random diner, eating soggy fries, and this man was pulling out the define the relationship card. After 10 days. So I take a deep breath and I'm like, listen, I've been thinking a lot, and I just don't think this is going to work. I don't see us being together, and I don't want to keep leading you on. He starts crying. Not a single tear. Not a little sniffle. Full-on tears. He's wiping his face, his voice is shaking, and I'm just sitting there like, what is happening? It felt like I had just told him I was moving to another planet and taking his dog with me. He was devastated. And I get it. Rejection sucks. But 10 days? We weren't even officially dating. We were just talking. But to him, it was like we had already built a life together, and I was tearing it down brick by brick. I tried to be kind. I told him he was a good person, that I just didn't feel ready for something serious, that I needed space. But he wasn't hearing it. He kept saying, I don't understand. I thought this was real. I thought we had something special. And to make things even more awkward, he still paid for my food. I told him not to. I even reached for my card. But he insisted. And I could tell he wasn't doing it because he was being nice. He was doing it like, maybe if I pay for this, she'll change her mind. Like he was trying to buy one more day of hope. Then came the worst part, the drive home. We sat in silence the entire way. 20 minutes of nothing but the sound of the road and the occasional sniffle. I felt horrible, but also weirdly relieved. Like I knew I had done the right thing, but it still sucked. When we got to my place, I turned to him and said, I'm sorry. He didn't say anything, just nodded. I got out of the car, and that should have been the end. But nope. For the next week, he texted me nonstop. Long paragraphs. Apologies. Desperate pleas. Please just give me one more chance. I know I messed up, but I can change. I'll never bring up the ghosting again, I promise. I didn't respond. I couldn't. What more could I say that I hadn't already said? Eventually, I had to block him. And I hate doing that. I really do. But he wouldn't stop. It felt like harassment. And if I'm being honest, it started to scare me. Like, how could someone get that attached in 10 days? It didn't feel healthy. It didn't feel safe. So yeah, that's the story of Zevin. The guy who cried after 10 days of talking, tried to guilt me into a relationship, and just couldn't let it go. I don't blame him for having feelings. I don't even blame him for being hurt. I just wish he had respected my space and my decisions. We'll call me Paloma. And the guy in this story? Let's name him Yarek. It sounds mysterious, right? Fitting. So I met Yarek on Bumble. He was hot, like model-level hot. Tall, dark hair, incredible jawline, abs for days. I mean, his photos were next level. The kind of profile you screenshot and send to your group chat like, tell me this isn't a catfish, right? But he had a verified check, so I figured, okay, he's real. We started chatting and honestly, it was good. He wasn't just attractive, he was articulate, funny, and actually asked me questions. We talked about movies, music, weird travel experiences. Nothing felt rushed or creepy. Just really solid banter. After a few days, he asked if we could move to WhatsApp. Normally, I'd be like, red flag. But people do that all the time internationally, and he claimed to have just moved to London from Germany for work. I figured, okay, maybe it's easier for him. Plus, he sent voice notes. He had this really deep, calm voice. Like, the kind you could fall asleep to. It didn't sound fake or robotic, and that helped me feel like he was legit. So eventually, Yarek suggests we go out. He tells me he has a bar in mind, and says he'll send me the postcode. Cool, right? Except the postcode he sends? It's a random residential street. Like, not a bar. Not even near a bar. Just a row of flats. So I text him like, hey, can you send me the name of the bar? And he goes, just meet me at the postcode. We can walk there together. I respond like, would it be okay if I just meet you directly at the bar? I'll feel more comfortable. And he doubles down. No, just meet me here. It's easier. Red flag. Massive red flag. Now I should mention, I was supposed to be in the office that day, which would have made the location slightly more convenient. But plans changed, and I ended up working from home. So when I mapped the location from my flat, it was over an hour away by tube. And it's a Tuesday. I'm not about to trek across London for a guy I've never met, especially not late at night. So I message him like, that's a bit far for me. Is there anywhere we can meet halfway? He gets weird about it. Says, it's really not that far. You can just take a quick tube and walk across the bridge. I'm like, it's not one stop. It's an hour. He starts insisting it's only £15 for an Uber and that I'm making a big deal out of nothing. This is where the tension starts to build. I'm trying to be polite, but I also don't want to be guilted into something I'm uncomfortable with. I tell him, look, maybe we can just reschedule for another day and find a place that's more in the middle. He responds super fast like, well, too late now. I already put my credit card down for the reservation. They'll charge me if I cancel. Now, this didn't sit right with me. I know most bars in London don't require a card to book a table, especially on a weekday. So I go to the bar's website, click reserve a table. And guess what? You don't have to pay anything. No card details. Nothing. I'm getting more and more uneasy. Something just feels off. So I do what any true crime podcast listener would do. I reverse image search his photos. I use this site called facecheck.id. It basically scans the internet for social media profiles that match the same face. And that's when my stomach drops. His face pops up. Not under the name Yarek. Not even someone in London. The real guy in the photos is a fitness model based in Germany. Whole other name, whole other life. I checked the Instagram account, and every photo on Jarek's Bumble profile is taken directly from this model's page. Same lighting, same outfits, same captions. It was a full-on identity theft situation. I sat there frozen, staring at my screen. I couldn't breathe for a second. My brain was going 100 miles an hour. Who had I been talking to? Who was sending me voice notes? Who was trying to get me to meet at a random residential street? I go back to our WhatsApp chat and reread everything. Suddenly, it all feels different. The way he insisted on meeting at that vague location. The way he got defensive when I asked to meet halfway. The lie about the reservation. The pushiness masked as convenience. It wasn't just sketchy. It was calculated. I immediately screenshot everything. The Bumble profile, the WhatsApp messages, the face check results. And I send them to a friend. She calls me right away, panicking. She's like, you cannot go. Block him. Report him. This is serious. So I do. I report him on Bumble. I go to block him on WhatsApp, but before I do, I send one last message. I send him the screenshot of the real fitness model's Instagram. No caption, just the image. He never responded. I blocked him before he could. But the fear didn't go away. I kept thinking, what would have happened if I had gone? What if I hadn't asked for the name of the bar? What if I believed the whole credit card reservation lie? Would I have gotten there and realized too late that I was alone on a quiet street with a stranger who wasn't who he said he was? I still don't know what his plan was. Maybe he wanted to rob me. Maybe worse. But everything about it felt engineered. Like he'd done this before. He had a system. And maybe, just maybe, I was the first one to catch on before it was too late. After that, I didn't go on any dates for a while. I changed my Bumble settings, turned off location tracking, and made sure all my socials were locked down. I even got one of those personal safety alarms, just in case. The scariest part? He was so normal. That fake profile? It was polished. Verified. The pictures were high quality. The messages were charming. The voice notes were warm. There were no typos, no weird phrases. He didn't come off creepy. He came off real. And that's what makes these people dangerous. It's not the ones who look shady from the start. It's the ones who blend in. The ones who know exactly how to act, exactly what to say. So yeah, that's how I almost walked into a trap. I don't know what his true intention was, and maybe I never will. But I'm damn glad I trusted my gut. Because even if it made me feel paranoid or too cautious, I'd rather be safe and single than end up as a headline. So to anyone out there swiping, chatting, flirting, be careful. Google people. Reverse image search. Ask questions. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And never, ever let someone make you feel guilty for wanting to protect yourself. Better safe. Always. You ever go on a date that starts off pretty normal, like everything seems chill, and then halfway through, you're just sitting there thinking, am I in a hidden camera show? Is someone about to jump out and tell me this was a prank? Yeah, that was this date. Okay, so I'm going to tell this story just like I lived it, because I still haven't recovered. This all happened a couple months ago, and I've been debating whether to share it because I didn't want to seem petty. But now that enough time has passed, I feel like it's my duty to warn others. So let's call this girl Esme. And me, I'll just stick with my name, Covey, because honestly, I came out of this date with emotional damage and a much lighter wallet. So, Esme and I had been talking for maybe a week or two. It was light, flirty, standard dating app banter. Nothing crazy. She seemed cool. A little quirky, but I like that. I've always had a thing for people who aren't boring. I'm not saying I wanted full chaos, but like a little spice. Keeps things interesting. So we're texting, and one day she goes, I love frozen yogurt. Like, I could eat it every day. And I was like, say less. Let's do a Yogi date. Yogi is this self-serve froyo place near us, and it's kind of a local spot for casual dates. Like low commitment, chill vibe. You go, fill up your cup, sprinkle on some toppings, sit and chat. Perfect for a first hangout. She's like, yes, that sounds amazing. So we set a date. Fast forward to the night of. I go to pick her up, and right away things feel good. No awkward tension. She hops in the car, gives me a big smile, and we're already chatting like old friends. I'm like, sweet, this is going well. Chemistry? Check. We get to Yogi, and we head inside. I go straight for the small cup because, portion control. I'm not trying to spend $20 on dairy and candy. I grab my little cup, and I look over at Esme. She grabs the biggest cup they have, like the family size one. The kind that looks like a mixing bowl. I blinked. Twice. I'm thinking, okay, maybe she just likes holding a big cup for comfort. Maybe she's not actually going to fill the whole thing. Innocent until proven guilty, right? Wrong. We start moving down the froyo machines, and I'm there being all careful, like doing the little swirl, just a few ounces. Like, let's be reasonable, let's not trigger the scale. I'm rationing my flavors like I'm budgeting for rent. Meanwhile, Esme is over there just launching yogurt into the bowl. Like full throttle. No hesitation. She's doing triple swirls at each machine. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, mango, cookies, and cream. You name it, it's in there. She's out here creating the Mount Everest of froyo. I'm watching her like, what are you doing? But I keep it inside because I don't want to be that guy. The one who's like, hey, maybe don't bankrupt me on our first date. Then we get to the toppings bar. I'm thinking, okay, maybe she'll chill out now. No, absolutely not. She grabs the biggest spoon and starts scooping toppings like she's building a sundae for an army. M&Ms, sprinkles, crushed Oreos, cookie dough strawberries, those little jelly popping things. What are they called? Wabba balls? Popping pearls? Whatever, she dumped like half the container into her cup. I'm still there doing precision sprinkles. Like literally shaking a few chocolate chips onto mine like I'm seasoning a steak. I'm putting on one strawberry slice at a time. I'm trying to make my cup look like a reasonable snack, not a structural engineering project. We get to the register, and the cashier gives us the classic line. Are you two together? I glance at Esme. She looks at me, and I'm like, yeah, we're together. Mistake. Huge mistake. They put both cups on the scale, hers nearly breaks it. I swear I saw the register shake. The total comes up, and I'm physically sweating. It's like $32. For yogurt. I'm not even exaggerating. Mine was like $5. Hers was ungodly. I swipe my card, trying not to cry. We sit down and I try to reset. I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's just money. Maybe she's just really hungry. Maybe she hasn't eaten all day. We sit there, and I start eating mine. I take a bite, and it's good. I'm enjoying myself. I glance at Esme, and she's already halfway through her mountain of yogurt. Like devouring it. I've never seen someone eat frozen yogurt with that much intensity. She's locked in. Focused. Like she's in a competitive eating contest. I try to make conversation, but she's clearly in the zone. So I just eat mine in silence, watching her like, okay then. I chalk it up to nerves. Maybe she's shy. Whatever. Then, out of nowhere, she points at my cup and goes, "That looks really good." I laugh, kind of jokingly like, "Yeah, it's alright. But you've got like 5 pounds of toppings in yours." She goes, "No, but yours looks really good." I'm like, "Haha, yeah, you can try some if you want." She goes, "Sweet." And then she straight up reaches over and starts eating my yogurt. No hesitation. Just grabs my cup and takes a big spoonful. I'm stunned. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Sharing yogurt now. That's intimate. She goes, and then, that's delicious. And then as she keeps eating, like, not just the taste, she's full on helping herself. I'm just sitting there like, ma'am, that is my froyo. I try to laugh it off, but now I'm getting the ick. Like, I'm not even a germaphobe, but we just met. This isn't a we've been dating for 3 months kind of situation. This is date 1. And you just stole my dessert. Then she makes it weirder. She leans in and goes, in this weird sing-songy voice, "That's yummy, I." Like loud. People are turning their heads. I'm dying inside. I don't know what's happening anymore. I finish what's left of my yogurt, what she hasn't eaten, and I'm like, alright, cool, this was fun. I walk her to the car, and we sit for a second. She's still talking like nothing happened. I'm nodding along, already planning my exit. I drop her off, and she goes, "We should do this again sometime." I fake smile and say, "Yeah, totally." I never texted her again. And she never texted me either, which honestly was a blessing. Maybe she knew. Maybe she felt the vibe shift. Or maybe she was too busy rating other people's yogurt. So Roan and I met on Hinge. That app is like a digital casino. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes it's a gem, sometimes it's someone who thinks sapiosexual is a personality. But Roan seemed okay. He was persistent, I'll give him that. We'd matched once before, and I had ended up ghosting him. I know, it's not the best move, but I was 18 and had the attention span of a squirrel. I'd agree to plans, then flake last minute. Not because I was trying to be rude, just because I had no idea how to manage my social anxiety back then. Anyway, Roan had tried to talk to me multiple times over the course of a year. He'd DM me on Instagram, respond to random stories, even comment on my posts sometimes. I never replied. And then one day I was scrolling through his profile because I'm nosy, and I thought, you know what? He's kinda cute. Maybe I should give this guy a real chance. So I did. I messaged him. We reconnected. He was thrilled. Like, you'd think I cured his seasonal depression or something. He immediately started planning a date. He was like, "Let me pick you up." And for some reason, probably temporary brain fog, I said yes. I let this man pick me up from my house. First time meeting in person. I know. I was being a dumb idiot that day. The car ride to the restaurant? Honestly, great. We vibed. We were laughing, talking about music, school life. I was like, dang, maybe this is actually going to be a good night. That was my first mistake, assuming peace. We pull into the restaurant parking lot. It's a casual place, nothing too fancy. As we're getting out of the car, Roan gets a FaceTime call. He goes, "Oh, it's my boy, I'm just gonna answer real quick." I'm thinking, okay, whatever. That's normal. He answers the call, and immediately, I recognize the voice on the other end. My stomach drops. It's Covey, a guy I used to talk to. Not just talk to like talk. We had a thing for a few months, and then he ghosted me. Poof. Gone. No warning, no explanation. So now, I'm sitting there frozen, watching Roan on FaceTime with Covey, and trying not to melt into the pavement. Covey's like, "Yo, what are you up to?" And Roan, with all the enthusiasm in the world, goes, I'm actually on a date right now. Then he turns the camera toward me and says, her name's Keelani. You might know her. Covey's face shifts. He definitely knows me. He starts laughing. Not like, haha, small world, but like, yo, this is hilarious, I can't wait to roast this later kind of laugh. And I'm sitting there like, why is my life a sitcom no one asked for? And then, because this night had to reach maximum humiliation, a third voice joins the call. A guy named Jules. Another guy I had talked to. Briefly but still. Apparently, all three of them were hanging out. And all three of them had some sort of history with me. At this point, I'm just standing there like I've been hit with a taser. Roan, oblivious, is still laughing. Then one of them goes, yo, say hi to her. And Roan turns the phone to me again, like I'm a zoo exhibit. I give a weak wave. Hi. Covey's still laughing. Jules is smirking. I'm dying inside. Roan hangs up and doesn't say anything. Not, that was weird, or small world, or even sorry about that. Just straight up walks into the restaurant like nothing happened. I follow him in, trying to process what just occurred. We sit down, order food, and I'm trying to get it together. Surprisingly, the actual dinner part goes okay. We talk, we laugh, we eat. But I'm still stuck in my head, thinking about that call. How did he know both of them? Why didn't he say anything? At some point, Roan excuses himself to go to the bathroom. He's gone for like 10 minutes. When he comes back, he's different. Like, different. His eyes are a little red. His energy is off. He's giggling at random things. And that's when it hits me, he's high. This man went to the bathroom and got high mid-date. Now listen, I don't care if people smoke. Do your thing. But don't lie about it. Roan had told me over the phone that he didn't smoke at all. Said he hated it, that it made him paranoid, that he avoided it entirely. And now he's sitting across from me, clearly stoned, grinning like a cartoon. I'm trying to keep the conversation going, but he's zoned out. And then, as if this night hadn't already been a Greek tragedy, he decides that is the moment to bring up the FaceTime call. He leans in and goes, so, are you just trying to hook up with the whole friend group? I blink. Excuse me? He goes, I mean you talked to Covey. And Jules. And now me. Are you just making your way through the roster? I'm stunned. Like, genuinely speechless. I sit there, blinking at him, trying to decide if I should flip the table or just walk out. I finally go, first of all, I didn't even know you all knew each other. Second, I talked to Covey like 5 months ago. And Jules? We messaged for a week and never met up. And now you're acting like I planned this. He shrugs. I don't know. Just seems like a pattern. A pattern? Sir, what? Is this CSI, dating app edition? I try to stay calm, but I'm fuming. I say, listen, you're making a lot of assumptions based on nothing. And honestly, it's really rude. He leans back, arms crossed, and goes, whatever. I just don't want to be another guy you ghost. I'm like, you're about to be. The energy is ruined. I just want to go home. But here's the kicker, he drove me there. So I'm stuck. I can't exactly call an Uber from a suburban parking lot with 2% battery and no charger. We finish dinner in painful silence. He pays, because at this point, even he knows he messed up. But the damage is done. We walk to the car, and I'm praying the ride home is quick. It's not. He drives slow. Like aggressively slow. No music. No talking. Just us and the hum of the tires. Finally, we pull up to my place. I reach for the door handle, and he goes, you sure you don't want to come over? I laugh. I actually laugh. Out loud. Absolutely not. He rolls his eyes. Whatever. I get out of the car, close the door, and walk into my building without looking back. A few minutes later, I get a text. Sorry if I made things weird. I just really liked you and didn't expect all that history to pop up. I don't answer. Then another text. I still think we had a connection. Blocked. I don't have the energy to explain to another man that talking to two guys briefly over the course of a year does not make me a homie hopper. That I don't owe him a second date just because he finally got one after a year of trying. That being on a group FaceTime with my ex-flings doesn't give him license to slut-shame me on a first date. I've had bad dates before. Uncomfortable conversations, awkward hugs, guys who lied about their height. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for the night a man left me stranded on the side of a highway. Yes, a literal highway. On-ramp. Cars speeding past me. No shoes. No phone signal. Just me, my dignity, barely, and the growing realization that I needed to make better life choices. Let me explain. I met Jake on Hinge. He was tall, handsome in a vaguely chaotic way, and had a profile that made me laugh. His answers were clever, borderline unhinged, but in a way that suggested he might be fun in small doses. We matched, messaged for a week or so, and then made plans to meet up for drinks. The first date was fine. Not amazing, not terrible. He was funny, talked a lot, and had this intense energy like he'd just come from a CrossFit class and a conspiracy theory Reddit thread simultaneously. But he was charming enough, and when he asked to see me again, I said yes. Mistake number 1. For our second date, he suggested driving out to this dive bar about 45 minutes away. He said, "It's a hidden gem. Live music, cheap drinks, real locals-only energy." I was hesitant. I'm a city girl. I like places where the bathroom has more than a curtain and the drinks don't come in plastic cups. But he was enthusiastic, and I thought, okay, give it a shot. Worst case, it's a story. Spoiler, it was. He picked me up around 8 p.m. in his truck. Not a cute vintage truck. Not a clean suburban dad truck. A beat-up, mud-streaked, possibly haunted truck that smelled like beef jerky and regret. I got in, and immediately my gut started whispering. This was a bad idea. Mistake number 2, I ignored it. The drive started fine. He was blasting old punk music and talking about how much he hated his job. He worked in sales, but had dreams of becoming a full-time content creator. When I asked what kind of content, he said, mostly rants. Political stuff. Some fitness. I used to do knife reviews. I nodded slowly. About 20 minutes in, I realized we were not taking the highway. We were snaking through back roads, winding past dark woods and long stretches of nothing. I asked, "Is this the fastest route?" He said, "Nah, but it's more scenic." That might have been romantic if not for the fact that it was pitch black, and the only thing scenic was the glowing eyes of roadside animals. We finally get to the bar. It's half empty, smells like spilled beer and desperation, and the band playing sounds like they're still learning their instruments. But again, I'm trying to be cool. Go with the flow. Live a little. Jake orders us drinks, whiskey shots and PBRs. I nurse mine slowly. He downs his like it's water. Then another. And another. He starts talking faster, getting louder, telling me about his ex, how she didn't get him, how she tried to control him, how he doesn't do drama. Then he says, "You're different. I can tell. You're chill." I smile awkwardly and say, "Thanks." Then he says, "Do you want to get out of here?" I think he means leave the bar. I say, "Yeah, I'm kind of tired." He grins. "I know a spot." Mistake number 3, I let him drive again. We get back in the truck, and he starts heading toward the highway. We're on the ramp when he suddenly asks, "Do you believe in soulmates?" I say, "That's a big question." He says, "I do. I think people either click or they don't. And I clicked with you." My stomach drops. Then he says, "But I also think people who don't value freedom are dangerous." I say, "Totally." He says, "Like if we're not aligned spiritually, I need to know now." I say, "Okay." Then he pulls over. On the highway. Not an exit. Not a rest stop. The shoulder of the on-ramp. Cars are flying by, honking. I look at him, confused. He says, "You don't get it." I can tell. "You're stuck in the matrix." I blink. "What?" He points at me. "You're not ready. I thought you were. But you're not." I try to stay calm. "Jake, what are you doing?" He stares ahead, hands gripping the wheel. Then he says, "I think you should get out." I laugh nervously. "You're kidding." He shakes his head. I need to protect my energy. At this point, I realize he's dead serious. I say, "You're going to leave me here?" On the side of the highway. He says, "You'll figure it out. You're smart." I reach for my phone. No signal. I look down. I'm wearing platform sandals. No jacket. No bag. Just my phone, which is now at 12%. I say, "Please don't do this." He doesn't answer. Just unlocks the doors. I open the door slowly, stepping out like I'm in a fever dream. He pulls away. No dramatic exit. Just merges back into traffic and disappears. I stand there. Alone. Cars zooming past me. My hair whipping in the wind. No streetlights. No sidewalks. Just gravel and a rising sense of panic. I start walking. I don't know where I'm going, just away. After about 10 minutes, I see a gas station in the distance. I head toward it like it's a lighthouse in a storm. I walk in. The cashier looks up and says, "Rough night?" I nod. You have no idea. I charge my phone, call a friend, and wait 40 minutes for her to pick me up. During that time, I sit on a bench next to a vending machine and reflect on my life choices. Jake texted me the next morning. Hope you made it home okay. I needed to do what was right for me. I looked and did not respond. How could it? You ever have one of those moments where you look back on something and think, oh my God, I could have died. Not in a dramatic, over-the-top way, but in a real, deeply unsettling, I ignored so many warning signs and somehow lived to tell the tale kind of way. Yeah, that was me. Sophomore year of college. Fully convinced I was grown, mature, and emotionally intelligent. Spoiler alert, I was none of those things. I was 21, bored, and lonely in the middle of finals week. All my friends were either buried in textbooks or melting down over exams. I, on the other hand, decided to entertain a guy I met at a bar the weekend before. Let's call him Talon. Because honestly, that's the kind of name he deserves. We'd met at this dive bar near campus. I remember thinking he seemed different. Not charming exactly, but intense in a way I mistook for intriguing. He had this nice car, some kind of fancy sports model, and this weirdly serious energy. No jokes, no sarcasm, just straight-up questions like, what are your long-term goals? While we were standing next to a pinball machine. I should have known right then, but I didn't. I gave him my number. We went on one date, nothing dramatic. He picked me up in the sports car, which he clearly didn't know how to drive. That should have been red flag number 1. Like if you're going to flex a car that costs more than college tuition, at least know where the door handle is. Anyway, the second date was where things went sideways. It was a Wednesday night, dead week. Everyone was either studying or stress eating in their dorms. Talon texts me around 10 p.m. asking how my night's going. I tell him I've been stuck studying for hours and that I could use a break. He responds immediately, want to go for a walk? And I'm like, sure. Walks are harmless, right? He suggests Gasworks Park. For those of you not from Seattle, it's this industrial park turned scenic overlook. It's got water views and a giant grassy hill, but at night, it's pitch black on one side and eerily quiet. It's the kind of place that would be totally romantic in a rom-com and absolutely terrifying in a true crime documentary. Still, I agree. He tells me he needs to get gas first, and that he'll be there in 30 minutes. I tell my roommates I'm heading out and to track my location. I make a joke like, if I don't come back, he's a serial killer. We laugh. Haha, funny. Except not. An hour and a half passes. No text. No call. I'm standing by my building in leggings and a hoodie, rethinking my entire life. Then he finally texts, here. I walk out, expecting to see the same sleek sports car from our first date. Instead, there's a beat-up 4Runner idling at the curb. I hesitate. He rolls down the window and waves. Hey, come in, he says. I climb in, trying not to show how weirded out I am. The car smells like gym socks and wet dog. There's fur on the seats. Empty water bottles on the floor. He notices my expression and goes, yeah, I let my dogs ride in this one. Don't want them messing up my other car. Oh, okay. Sure. We start driving, and I try to shake the weird vibe. I make small talk. He mostly just nods. We pull into the Gasworks parking lot, and he says, ready? I'm like, yeah. I reach for the door. He stops me. Wait. Don't laugh. I freeze. What? He gets out of the car and stands in front of me, wearing 2 different shoes. I kid you not. 2 completely different shoes. 1 sneaker, 1 boot. I stare. He shrugs. I was just really excited to see you. Didn't notice. Okay. That's sweet. I guess. But also, who does that? We start walking across the park. It's dark. Really dark. The kind of dark where your phone flashlight barely helps. I try to lead us toward the lit areas, but he keeps steering us to the back side of the hill. The quiet side. The side with no people. I try to play it cool. My friends are tracking my location. I say it loud and clear, like I'm announcing it for any hidden microphones. He chuckles. How accurate is that? I pause. It's super accurate. Like down to the foot. He nods. Cool. We're walking in silence now. I'm hyper-aware of every shadow, every sound. Then he stops and says, if this was a Dexter episode, this would be the perfect spot. I force a laugh. Haha. Yeah. Creepy. He keeps walking. I'm just saying. It's secluded. Quiet. No one would know. I think I aged 10 years in that moment. We finally circle back to the front of the hill. There are people spinning fire, like actual fire dancers. I'm relieved to see other humans. I suggest we sit by the water, thinking it'll be safer with people in sight. We head down to the rocks. The area is semi-secluded, but at least there are lights nearby. He asks if we can sit on the edge. I agree, but I position myself closest to the railing in case I need to bolt. We sit. I try to relax. He makes another joke about dumping a body here. I'm not even pretending to laugh anymore. I quietly text my roommate, "Can you come get me?" She's like, "On my way." I'm stalling, trying to keep the conversation going, but also watching his hands. At one point, I see him fiddling with something in his pocket. My stomach flips. I jump up. "Okay, yeah, I think I'm ready to go home." He's surprised. "Already?" "Yeah, I've got a final tomorrow. I should really study." He sighs but agrees. We walk back to the car, and I'm trying to find a way to tell him I'm not getting back in. But my purse is still on the passenger seat. He unlocks the doors. I open mine, grab my bag, and then freeze. The gas gauge? Empty. Like, empty. This man told me he was late because he had to get gas. And the tank is bone dry. Every instinct in my body is screaming. I back away and scan the lot. There's a couple sitting in a car nearby. I walk over and knock on their window. "Hey, I'm so sorry, but I don't feel safe. Can I wait here until my friend comes?" They immediately unlock the door. I get in. Talon is watching me from his car, expression unreadable. Then he peels out of the lot, speeding off like a fast and furious extra. I sit there shaking, barely able to form words. The couple is kind. They wait with me until my roommate arrives. I never hear from Talon again. I block his number, delete his contact, and for weeks afterward, I sleep with a chair wedged under my doorknob. I don't know what he was planning. I don't want to know. But I do know this: I'll never ignore my gut again. I was 22, freshly out of a situationship, and back on the apps, against my better judgment. I figured I'd just dip a toe in, see what was out there. I wasn't looking for anything serious, just someone who could carry a conversation and maybe make me laugh. Enter Riven. He had this soft boy with edge thing going for him. Artsy Instagram posts. Thoughtful captions. The kind of guy who wore rings and had a favorite poet. His profile said he was into photography, long walks, and books that ruin you. I rolled my eyes, but I swiped right anyway. We matched. He messaged me first. "You have the energy of someone who annotates their books and cries in public." I should have known then. We started talking. And honestly, it was good. He was funny, warm, just the right amount of flirty. We had similar music taste. We both loved bookstores. He mentioned this one place downtown, an indie shop that had a cafe inside and shelves that reached the ceiling. "It's where I go when the world's too loud," he said. I melted a little. So when he asked me out, I said yes. Brunch and a bookstore crawl. I thought, okay, this is cute. This is wholesome. I even told my roommate, I think this one might be normal. Mistake number 1. The morning of, I get dressed in my casual but effortful outfit. A comfy sweater, jeans, boots. It's fall, so I'm feeling cozy and optimistic. Riven picks me up. He's wearing an oversized coat and carrying a small bouquet of flowers. I blink. Are these for me? He smiles. They were for someone else, but I figured they shouldn't go to waste. I laugh, thinking it's a joke. That's dark. He doesn't laugh. I brush it off, tell myself he's just being poetic. Maybe it's a bit. Maybe I'm overthinking. He drives us to brunch. It's one of those rustic, artisanal places with jam jars on the table and 6 kinds of sourdough. We sit outside under a heater. The food is good. The conversation is off. At first, it's normal. We talk about favorite books, growing up, weird childhood snacks. But then he starts telling me this oddly detailed story about his ex. Not in a bitter way, more like a slow, nostalgic unraveling. She cheated on me, he says, sipping his coffee, with someone who worked at her job. I found out because he posted a poem about her. I say, wow, that's awful. I'm sorry. He shrugs. It's fine. That was a year ago. A year ago? Today, actually, he adds. I pause. Wait, today's your breakup anniversary? He nods, smiles faintly. Felt poetic to go on a date today. I laugh awkwardly. That's bold. He grins. You're helping me close a chapter. The server brings the check. He pays. I offer to split, and he waves me off. You're already doing enough, he says, which I think is weird, but I let it go. We get back in the car. I assume we're heading to the bookstore he mentioned. But instead, he pulls into a parking garage next to a small shopping plaza. I'm confused. This isn't the bookstore, is it? He smiles. No, this is her bookstore. My stomach drops. What? He unbuckles his seatbelt. My ex. This is where she works. Well, used to. I think she still does weekends. She's a pastry chef now across the street. I stare at him. You're joking. He shakes his head. Nope. Come on. You'll love it. Great selection. I don't move. You brought me here, to the place your ex works? He tilts his head. Technically, she works across the street. But she used to work here. Might still hang out. Who knows? I blink. Why? He shrugs. Closure. I don't know what to do. I'm already here. So I follow him inside, heart pounding. The bookstore is cute, quaint, quiet, smells like cedar and old pages. But I can't focus. I'm too busy scanning for her. I don't even know what she looks like, but I feel her in the walls. Riven walks through the aisles like he owns the place. Picks up a copy of On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous and hands it to me. She cried when she read this, he says. Said it reminded her of us. I hold the book like it's radioactive. Cool. He leads me to the poetry section. Pulls out a thin volume. This is the one he wrote about her. The guy she cheated with. He self-published. I stare at him. You're not over her. He looks at me dead serious. Does anyone ever really get over someone who ruins them? I take a step back. I think we should go. He nods like he expected that. Okay. One more stop. I should have said no. I should have walked out. But I was frozen, partly from shock, partly from morbid curiosity. We crossed the street. A small cafe. Glass windows. Inside, a counter lined with pastries. A young woman behind the counter, laughing with a co-worker. Riven pauses outside. There she is. I stare at him. You're insane. He smiles. You're beautiful. She'll see you and wonder how I moved on. I whisper, you haven't moved on. He says nothing. We go inside. I'm too stunned to stop him. We order coffee and a slice of cake. She sees us. I know she knows. Her smile falters. Her eyes linger on me. She brings the dessert to our table. Sets it down gently. Her hands are shaking. Riven says, thank you, like it's the most loaded sentence in the world. She nods. Walks away. I eat one bite of the cake. It tastes like guilt. We leave in silence. He drives me home. I don't say a word. When we pull up to my place, he finally speaks. Thank you for today. I stare at him. Don't contact me again. He nods like he expected that too. I walk inside. Drop the flowers in the trash. Take a shower that lasts too long. Sit on my bed wondering how I became someone's emotional tool. Moral of the story? If someone brings you flowers meant for someone else, believe them the first time. It started like most modern love stories do, with a swipe. I wasn't even planning to be on Hinge that day. I was in one of those moods where I go, I'm done with dating apps, but 5 minutes later I'm scrolling through profiles like I'm shopping for snacks I know I don't need. And then he popped up. Tall, cute, broad shoulders, great jawline. You know the type, an annoyingly symmetrical face that makes you pause and wonder how many times the universe had to spin to land you on his screen. We matched instantly. Within 5 minutes, he messaged me. Hey Coop's mom, he wrote, referencing the one picture I had of my dog, Coop, snoozing like a baby on a pile of laundry. You might be the coolest girl on this app. Okay, points for creativity. Most guys start with hey, or you're hot. This one had charm. And then the conversation took off, quick, natural, easy. We talked about sports. He loved baseball. I had a thing for basketball. Music. He was into indie rock. I was more of a soul and R&B girl. And travel. His dream was Thailand. Mine was Morocco. It didn't feel like small talk. It felt like two people cracking each other open, one laugh at a time. After 2 days of chatting, he said, let's move off the app. Here's my number. I hesitated for half a second, my inner dating cynic whispering, careful girl. But I texted him anyway. Within minutes, he texted back, and we picked up right where we'd left off. Then came his idea. Let's play a game. I'll ask you a question, and you have to answer it with a picture from your camera roll. It wasn't just cute, it was genius. He'd say, do you have any pets? I'd send a photo of Coop licking peanut butter off a spoon. Where's your favorite place you've traveled? I sent a windswept picture of me in Joshua Tree, looking dramatically off into the distance like I was in a perfume ad. He kept it light, but there was something undeniably flirty about the way he crafted each question. Like when he asked, "Got a picture of a night you never wanted to end?" And I sent a blurry shot of me and my friends dancing barefoot at a beach bonfire. He replied, "You look like trouble," followed by a flame emoji and a wink. I replied, "Only if you're lucky." The banter was good. He was playful but respectful, flirtatious but not sleazy. That rare balance. We started sending each other songs, too. He'd send me something vibey, and I'd send back a sultry 90s R&B track. By the end of that week, I was walking around with the dumbest smile on my face. Then he asked me out. "Want to go to a Diamondbacks game with me?" Thought it'd be a fun first date. I'm not even that into baseball, but the idea of eating nachos in stadium seats next to this man sounded like a scene I wanted to live in. "Yes," I replied. "That sounds like so much fun." He bought the tickets and even sent me the receipt as proof. Bold move. "So you know I'm serious," he said. By then, I was genuinely excited. I even started planning an outfit. Something casual but still hot. You know the look? Effortless, but like maybe I spent 2 hours trying on 5 pairs of jeans. The week leading up to the date, we kept texting. Still flirty, still fun. He told me what he was going to wear, black tee, backwards cap, and asked what kind of snacks I liked at games. I joked that if he didn't buy me a pretzel, I'd leave by the 3rd inning. He said, "Guess I'll need 2. Then Friday rolled around, and everything tilted sideways. Friday night was supposed to be chill. The kind of night where you do a face mask, watch a rom-com, and text your soon-to-be first date about your favorite ballpark snacks. Instead, it got weird. He texted me around 10:45 p.m., saying he just got home from drinks with his friends. I was curled up on the couch in a hoodie, coop at my feet, watching the Suns game and half-scrolling TikTok. His message lit up my phone. Him. Just got back from drinks. Had a few too many clinking beer mugs. Me. Haha, sounds like a good night. What did you guys get into? We chatted casually for a few minutes, and then out of nowhere, he hit me with, "So, you want to hang out?" I stared at the message. Looked at the time. 11:43 p.m. Wait. What? I read it again. Then again. I wasn't sure if he meant hang out like watch a movie and vibe, or hang out, as in he wanted to hook up. It felt like a pop quiz I didn't study for. So I played dumb. Me. Wait, didn't we already make plans? The game's Monday, right? Him. Yeah, but I meant like now. I could come over, or you could come here. And there it was. The late night, let's hang out text. Classic. My heart dropped, not because I wasn't into him, but because up until that moment, he hadn't given off booty call energy. He was the guy who asked me thoughtful questions, sent me music, and planned a baseball date, for crying out loud. Not the type to slide into my messages at midnight asking to hang. The worst part? A tiny part of me was tempted. I was curious. He was hot, charming, and clearly interested. But another, louder part of me, the part that's watched too many true crime documentaries, was screaming, "Girl, don't be stupid. You haven't even met this man in person." I didn't reply. I didn't know how. What was I supposed to say? Sure, come over and let's see if you're a murderer or just horny? No thanks. I went to bed feeling disappointed. Not angry, just thrown off. I had been excited. Like, high school crush excited. And now, I wasn't sure what to think. Saturday morning, I woke up to a text like nothing had happened. "Hey, hope you're having a great Saturday," smiling face with smiling eyes, "what are you up to?" I didn't answer. I needed time to process. I didn't want to ghost him, but I also didn't want to pretend Friday night didn't happen. I needed to decide if this was a red flag or a random blip. Was he just tipsy and flirty? Or was I being naive? By Sunday, I still hadn't replied. Then Monday morning rolled around, the day of our big first date. I had low-key still been looking forward to it, even if I wasn't sure how I felt anymore. "Hey, are we still planning on going to the game tonight?" he texted. I sighed. Time to be honest. Me. Hey. I was really enjoying getting to know you, but Friday night threw me off. I wasn't sure how to respond. It took him about 20 minutes to reply. Him. I get that. I'm sorry if it came off like I was trying to hook up. I wasn't. I just thought we could spend more time together. I knew it was late, but I was still up and didn't want the night to end. I sat with that for a while. Was it genuine? Maybe. He didn't deny it was late. He acknowledged how it looked. That counted for something, right? And then I thought about it. I liked baseball. I liked him, at least the version of him I'd gotten to know so far. And maybe I was being too rigid. Maybe people do weird things when they drink. Maybe I should just enjoy the experience. So I texted him back. Me, you know what? I'd still love to go to the game. I really did enjoy our conversations. He replied quickly. Great. I can't wait to meet you, smiling face with smiling eyes. I felt a tiny flutter. Maybe this could still be something. And then, 2 seconds later, actually, can we do Tuesday or Wednesday instead? I blinked. Wait. What? Me. We already planned for tonight. And didn't you buy the tickets? His reply came a moment later. Yeah, but you didn't respond for like an hour earlier, so I asked one of my buddies to come. We're going tomorrow now. I didn't respond. Because what was there to say? He pulled the ultimate. I changed the plan because you didn't text back fast enough. Like I was a pizza delivery he canceled. Like I was on a wait list for his attention. It was honestly laughable. Whiplash worthy. This man had gone from playlist making flirt to late night hangout, guy to rescheduling our date after giving my ticket away, all in under 72 hours. I wish I could say I cried or got angry, but I didn't. I just stared at my phone and said out loud to no one, "This is why dating apps suck." Then I got dressed, did my makeup, and went to happy hour with my girlfriends. I wore my hot UPS driver outfit, brown jumpsuit, slick back bun. I looked like I could deliver heartbreak and a medium flat rate box at the same time. And I told them the whole story. We laughed until our cheeks hurt. We toasted with cheap wine. I showed them the texts, and they gasped at all the same parts one had. And they said what I had been too proud to admit. Babe, he just wanted to hook up. You were the one who thought it was a connection. And maybe they were right. I met this girl at a local fuel stop back in April 2000. She was wild, sexy, and loved rock and roll, so I decided to surprise her with front row tickets to Kiss as a first date. She was so excited. We talked on the phone for about a week. The anticipation was plain silly. She seemed completely normal. So these tickets were a chore to get. The only place that had any left was the old Ticket King scalper. I paid $300 for 2 tickets, front row, left of stage. It took everything I had in savings to get them. So I picked the gal up the night of the show, and she was a little tipsy. I thought, cool, I'll grab some beers at the show and catch up to her. Easy enough. We get to the show, her buzz was intensifying. Speech was slurred pretty bad, so I grabbed 2 32-ounce beers for myself and headed to our seats. By the time we got to our seats, 25 minutes or so had passed, and I could tell the situation was worsening. She didn't sit in the chair, she collapsed. Kind of like plopped. I looked at her. She laughed real loud and said, "My legs don't work good." I asked her how much she had drank, and she said about a pint of whiskey. That still didn't add up, so I asked her if she took any medicine. She said, "Nah, I'm fine. Give me 20 minutes to sober up." The opening act came out, played a few songs, and I noticed she was salivating profusely. I stood her up, said, "Let's get you to the bathroom," and that's when shit got nuts. She projectile vomited on about 5 people around us, including me, and kicked over my last beer onto some bundle of wires covered by some kind of rubber speed bump and slipped on it, landing in vomit. I got her up, making eye contact with the 19,000 people sitting behind me, and walked her to the bathroom. By the time we got there, she was in rough shape. Lots of dry heaving, more puke, and some salty language to people in her way. She bounded into the bathroom, and I went to wash myself up. Well, about 15 minutes went by, and a lady came rushing out of the bathroom and screamed, "Who's with this sick girl? She's choking." I rushed into the women's room, and here was OL gal, white as a ghost and puking up the remaining contents of her stomach, laying on her side convulsing. I ran out and got a nearby security guard to call help. They loaded her on a gurney, and we went backstage to a med bay. Once we got in there, a nurse came in and asked us a load of questions, which my date refused to answer. Nurse went to get more help, and all of a sudden the quiet turned to this roar. It was 20,000 people screaming, then Detroit Rock City kicked off, and the whole building just shook. I then realized I was not going to see this concert. I might hear it, but I wouldn't see it. Then the medics came in. They hooked her up to a machine, checked her vitals, and asked again, "Have you had anything?" "This girl squelches, I love Valium." Guess what? She did. 30 minutes later, I was in the ER of a close-by hospital, meeting her parents, explaining to them I didn't give her any Valium. Just some beer and a joint. Didn't even know she liked pills. Turns out, she loved pills. In fact, so much that she had been in 10 different hospitals for overdoses, mental instability, and depression. She'd tried to end herself several times and stabbed her ex-fiancé with a screwdriver once. Really nice people with the saddest look on their face. I walked to my car, drove home, and stared at the wall for 4 hours, clueless as to how I never saw any of that coming. Never heard from her again. Heard years later that she had died of an overdose. 290 milligrams. That's how much Valium they anticipated she took. In her purse was a blister pack of 10 milligrams Valiums. Dating in New York is like ordering sushi through a drive-thru. It sounds like a fun idea until you're holding something raw and slightly dangerous in your hands, wondering how it got there. This story? This is the one I tell when someone says, "Oh, come on, it can't be that bad." Oh, but it can. It all started on Hinge, where most modern tragedies begin. The guy, let's call him Ben, was handsome in that Manhattan tech bro way. His profile had the usual buzzwords: entrepreneur, sapiosexual, allergic to drama. Translation? Walking red flag wrapped in a Patagonia vest. Still, I was in a yes phase. Trying to be open, trying not to be so jaded. He asked me out and suggested a hookah lounge. I politely declined because 1. I don't smoke, 2. I hate the smell, and 3. It gives me a headache that feels like a tiny man is jackhammering inside my skull. He pivoted. Okay, how about drinks at the Ritz at 8? That sounded better. Fancy even. Here's where things start to unravel. I get an Uber across the city, and when I tell him I'm 10 minutes away, he responds, "That's nice. I'm just walking. It's right across the street from me." Pause. Why would you pick a date spot across the street from your place and have me cross borough lines for it? Instantly, I feel like I'm already putting in more effort than he is. But I'm here now, and I look good, hair curled, heels on, the whole nine. I walk into the Ritz, looking like a walking Vogue editorial, and there he is, in skinny jeans and a jersey-style hoodie. A hoodie. At the Ritz. Red flag number 2. But okay. I take a deep breath, tell myself to relax, and sit down. We get drinks, and the conversation starts. He asks about my goals, which I love. I'm talking about career aspirations, places I want to travel, what I'm building for myself. And then, he gives me this look. That oily, smug look like I just told him I wanted to colonize Mars with a vision board. And he says, "Who's going to pay for all that?" Me. Excuse me? I laugh, thinking he's joking. Spoiler, he's not. He continues. You have it all wrong. You don't need goals. You're pretty enough to just marry a rich guy. That's what you should be doing. All this career stuff? It's a waste. My mouth is open, like jaw on the floor level disbelief. He says it so casually, like he's giving me makeup tips. And then, oh, it gets worse, he adds. For every $250,000 a man makes, he deserves 8 cheating allegations. I said, wait, what? He repeats it, like he's quoting Shakespeare, like it's a universal truth that came down from the mountaintop. If a man makes that much, he gets 8 cheating passes. It's just math. I'm now halfway through my drink, and the only thing I'm thinking is, this is going to be a great story. Because there's no way I'm marrying this man, but I might just order another martini to survive this circus. And then he kisses me, unprompted, uninvited, right there at the Ritz bar. We weren't even in a cozy booth or dim corner. We were at the bar, packed, public, and this man leans over and shoves his tongue into my mouth like he's trying to win a prize for worst first kiss in North America. I pull back, flustered and stunned, and he grins like he just sealed a deal. I glance around, everyone saw. Everyone. I want to melt into the floor. Now, if I had any sense, I'd have left right then. But I stayed. Why? Curiosity. Or maybe the martini dulled my common sense. Either way, I let him convince me to go across the street for a better vibe. We walk. We arrive. Hookah lounge. The one thing I said I didn't want to do. I'm fuming, but also so far into the surrealism of the evening that I just follow him in like I'm trapped in a fever dream. The hostess greets him by name. He's a regular. Not surprising. He orders right away, sits in the booth seat, and gestures for me to take the chair across from him. He lights up the hookah and immediately blows the smoke in my face. I cough. He laughs. And then he says, "You look tense. Loosen up." My brain is screaming. My body is stiff. And my ovaries are actively retreating. I stand up. I think I'm going to head out. He looks genuinely confused. Why? You don't want to sit next to me? You don't want to stay? No, I say bluntly. I don't. He shrugs. Okay, why would I walk you out? That's his response. Not let me walk you. Not even a half-hearted get home safe. Just why would I? I walk out solo, heels clicking on the pavement like punctuation marks on a resignation letter. I get in an Uber. I go home. And then, like a fool, I text him a polite message. Hey, it was nice meeting you, but I don't think we're a match. Wishing you the best. He replies with something so unhinged, I don't even remember the full message. I was living in Florida at the time, juggling a mix of dating apps like I was playing emotional roulette. Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, you name it. One night, scrolling through Hinge, I came across a guy whose photos were, let's say, ambiguous. Not catfish material, but nothing screamed effort. Grainy selfies, a group shot where I couldn't tell which guy he was, and one picture where I think he was standing next to a bear. Or maybe it was just a very hairy man. His bio, one sentence, ask me anything. I should have closed the app. But something in me, maybe boredom, maybe that small sliver of hope that love could be hiding behind a recycled photo from 2016, told me to swipe right. We matched. He messaged pretty quickly, and within a few exchanges, he asked if I wanted to grab a drink. I figured, what the hell? It was a casual bar 5 minutes from my apartment. Low stakes. Worst case, I'd get a beer out of it and a story to tell. I chose the bar, neutral territory, casual, no pressure. I showed up that night in what I call my first date armor. Jeans that fit just right, a top that said I tried but not too hard, and makeup that looked like it took 5 minutes but definitely didn't. And then I saw him, standing in the doorway looking different. Not bad, but not like his profile. Like he'd aged 5 years and lost all interest in grooming. I immediately knew I wasn't attracted to him. Not even a little. But I told myself, you're already here. Just be polite. One drink. He greeted me with an awkward half hug and a hey, and we walked in together. The bar was packed, so we grabbed our drinks and headed outside to a picnic table. It was warm out, Florida style, the kind of humid that makes your hair say, good luck. We sat down and started chatting. It was fine. I mean, awkward, but manageable. We talked about where he'd just moved from, New York, and I mentioned I'd moved recently too. Then, out of nowhere, he dropped the word libtard. Unprompted. Unblinking. He used it like it was a normal part of conversation. Like, oh yeah, I got a burger and fries, and those damn libtards are ruining everything. I froze. Blinked. Tried to recover. Maybe I misheard him? Nope. He kept going. He launched into a rant about how soft everyone is these days, how you can't say anything without someone crying about it, and how people in this country need to toughen up. I sipped my beer and nodded like I was listening, but internally I was spiraling. I didn't want to argue. I didn't want to even engage. I wanted to disappear into my glass. I tried to change the subject. He didn't bite. Then he veered into astrology. Now, I like astrology. I don't live my life by it, but I think it's fun. He asked what my sign was, and I told him Gemini. He grimaced. Ugh, that makes sense, he said. You've got that chaotic energy. Definitely a Gemini. I laughed awkwardly. You say that like it's a disease. It kind of is, he said with a smirk. Okay, cool. Then, because we hadn't already ticked off enough red flags, he asked, have you ever kissed a girl? You give off by energy. I blinked. Again. That's apparently all I did on this date. Blink, sip, and question my life choices. But the thing is, I am bi. I'm just not into sharing that information with strangers who phrase it like they're ordering a fantasy off a menu. I said, yeah, I'm bi, and shifted in my seat, suddenly hyper-aware of everything about this man that made me want to flee. He grinned like he'd won something. Knew it. I wish I could tell you I left right then. But I didn't. I was trying to be polite. Women are taught to sit through discomfort with a smile on their face. So I stayed. I winced through the rest of my beer, nodded along, and tried to steer the conversation anywhere else. Then he asked my middle name. I told him. I asked his. It was unusual. I won't say it here, but let's just say it sounded like a name you'd give a cartoon frog. He laughed like he was in on the joke, but then leaned in, suddenly and without warning, to kiss me. We weren't even vibing. There was no moment. No slow eye contact or laugh that lingered too long. Just this awkward lurch forward, like he thought he was entitled to kiss me because I hadn't left yet. I leaned back so hard it startled both of us. Oh no, I said. Out loud. Instinctively. His eyes widened. I tried to recover with a nervous laugh. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. He looked wounded. Embarrassed. But also confused, like, why wouldn't you want to kiss me? He tried to save it. Maybe we should get another beer? I stood up. I think I'm going to head out. He didn't offer to walk me to my car. He didn't say goodbye. He just kind of shrugged. Okay, he said. Why would I do that? That's what he said. Why would I do that? I walked alone to my car, the Florida night pressing in like a heavy, wet towel. I slid into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and just sat there, letting the whole mess of a night settle over me like a thick fog. The next day, I deleted Hinge. Again, for the 4th time that year. Speech balloon final thoughts. That night didn't end with a kiss, or a hookup, or even a mildly decent conversation. It ended with me realizing how low the bar is, how we as women are expected to sit through discomfort and smile through ignorance just to be polite. But here's the thing, I'm done being polite to men who don't deserve it. I don't owe anyone a kiss. I don't owe them my time. And I definitely don't owe them tolerance for being casually offensive, weirdly aggressive, or just plain rude. Dating after reality TV is weird. People recognize you. They think they know you. They slide into your DMs with energy that ranges from sweet to stalkerish in a heartbeat. And somewhere in between, I loved you on the show, and you're not that cute in real life, is where this story begins. It started with a dating app match. I don't even remember which app, probably Raya, though they denied me at first, still salty. Anyway, I meet this girl. Gorgeous. Normal. Or so she seemed. She had a great smile, lived in a decent neighborhood, worked in something creative but vague. And most importantly, she didn't mention the show. We exchanged a few messages, and I asked her out for sushi. There's a trendy spot in LA I like, chill enough to feel casual, upscale enough to impress. She showed up looking amazing, confident, cute, not trying too hard. Dinner was smooth. Conversation flowed. She seemed interested in my life in a way that felt genuine, not clout-chasey. I mentioned I was trying to reconnect with my faith, and she leaned in. Asked thoughtful questions. Told me she was spiritual too. That she'd been through some stuff, but it helped her grow. I remember thinking, finally, a normal one. Which is hilarious in hindsight, because this girl was not normal. After dinner, I texted her again. We kept talking. A few days later, I asked if she wanted to go on a trip with me. I know, bold move. But I was feeling impulsive, and she'd passed the first date vibe check. I had some airline points and needed a break from LA. So I said, let's go to Cabo. She said yes. The plan was simple. A long weekend, sunshine, good food, maybe some poolside flirting. Nothing too serious. Just a chance to relax with someone I had chemistry with. That's not what happened. Let me walk you through the chaos. Airplane the flight. She came over to my place the morning of our flight. We were taking an early Uber to LAX. She walked in looking cute, but tight-lipped. A little off. I didn't think much of it. Maybe she hadn't had her coffee. Then my phone rang. It was a FaceTime from a friend of mine. Another woman, yes, but totally platonic. She just wanted to wish me a safe trip. No big deal, right? Wrong. The girl I was taking to Cabo watched me answer the call, like I had just proposed to someone in front of her. Her mood shifted. She got quiet. Cold. I could feel the tension before we even got in the Uber. I brushed it off. We got to the airport, checked in, boarded the plane. I lifted the overhead bin, set my bag inside, and gently closed it. She turned to me. Why did you slam the bin? I blinked. I didn't slam it. She rolled her eyes. Whatever. Whatever. We hadn't even taken off, and I had already gotten a whatever. I knew then I should have canceled the trip mid-tarmac. But I didn't. I sat down, window seat always, and tried to tune it out. Mid-flight, I turned on the little air vent above me. She reached across me and turned it off. I turned it back on. 5 minutes later, it was off again. I looked at her. Did you turn off my air? She shrugged. I didn't want it blowing on me. It's not pointed at you. She didn't respond. I fell asleep. When I woke up, the air was off again. I opened the window shade to look out as we descended. She reached across me and closed it. I looked at her, confused. Open windows give me anxiety, she said. I tried to stay calm. Then why didn't you say that instead of just reaching over me? She glared. Why do you always have to be like this? Always? Girl, we've known each other for 2 weeks. Hotel the arrival. We landed in Cabo. I picked up the rental car. We got to the hotel. I figured the weirdness was behind us. I was wrong. As we were unpacking, she brought up the FaceTime call again. Who is that girl? Why is she calling you before our trip? I explained again that she was just a friend. A check-in. Nothing more. She nodded, but I could tell she didn't believe me. Later that night, we went to dinner. It was nice. The food was good. We took a couple pictures. A few fans recognized me from the show, asked for selfies. I obliged. She smiled through it, but I could feel the heat radiating off her. When we got back to the hotel, she blew up. "You were touching those girls too much." I blinked. I literally stood next to them for a photo. "Your hand placement was disrespectful." I was stunned. Where was I supposed to put my hand? Hover awkwardly over their shoulder. She stormed off, grabbed the rental car keys, and left. I had paid for that car, by the way. Automobile the Chase. I figured she just needed air. I waited. An hour passed. Then 2. I decided to go look for her. I found her in a nearby alleyway, sitting in the rental car, engine off. Windows down. Just waiting. I walked up, trying to de-escalate. "Hey, can we talk?" She didn't answer. Then she turned the engine on and drove at me. Not like slowly. Not like a joke. She gunned it. I ran. I turned down another alley, one that ended with a tall fence and a locked gate. Nowhere to go. I turned around, heart pounding. She pulled up slowly, rolled down the window, and laughed. "You look like a sexy little cheetah running away." I didn't know whether to cry or scream. I laughed. Because what else do you do when someone tries to hit you with a car and then flirts about it? I told her we were flying back early. I made up an excuse, said my mom was sick, that I had to get back to LA. She agreed. The next morning we flew home. House with garden, the aftermath. I dropped her off, blocked her number, went home. 2 days later, I got back from the gym and found something taped to my apartment door. A handwritten note. "I really hope you found God, because I'll be introducing you to him soon if you don't text me back." I froze, packed my bags, booked a flight to Florida. You know those moments where you walk into a place and immediately feel like you've entered the wrong timeline? That was me, standing in the dimly lit corner of a downtown restaurant, staring at a guy I had a very real crush on, and the girl sitting across from him. Let me start at the beginning, because of course it started with a DM. This guy, let's call him Nate, was someone I'd been low-key obsessed with since forever. He was one of those everyone knows him types. Charming. Hot. The kind of guy who has a fan club made up of girls who've never spoken to him, but would risk it all if he so much as liked their Instagram post. So when he slid into my DMs asking if I wanted to grab dinner with him, I practically levitated. I screenshotted the message and sent it to 5 group chats. It was that serious. We picked a date. He said he had a favorite spot downtown. I asked if I should make a residential or if HE had it covered. "Don't worry," he said. "I've got it." So there I was, a few days later, full glam, hair curled, outfit carefully chosen to say, "I'm hot but I didn't try too hard," even though I absolutely had. I arrived a little early because being fashionably late to a date with your longtime crush just feels like tempting fate. I texted him, "Here. Where are you sitting?" He replied, "Back corner. Table by the window." So I walked in, feeling excited, nervous, maybe even a little smug. And then I saw him, at a table, with another woman. I paused, blinked. My brain tried to make sense of it. Maybe she was just saying hi. Maybe she was leaving. But no, she was seated. She had a drink. She looked comfortable. Still, I walked over, because what else was I going to do? Turn around and run? He looked up, grinned, and said, "Hey, this is my friend, Camila." Friend. Sure. I sat down, trying to act casual. Inside, I was screaming. Camila didn't look at me. She didn't even do the polite hi smile. Instead, she ordered another drink. I followed suit because I needed something chilled and strong to process what was happening. The conversation was weird. He kept talking to her, asking her questions, laughing at her stories. Meanwhile, I was sitting there like a third wheel on my own date. At one point, I tried to join in, made a joke about the appetizer menu. Neither of them laughed. In fact, I'm not even sure they heard me. I started to doubt everything. Was this not a date? Was this a hangout? But who invites someone out one-on-one, sets a time, a place, and tells them to get dinner, only to have another woman already at the table? It was giving bachelor group date energy, minus the rose ceremony. Then the waiter came over to take our food order. This, I thought, would be the moment she'd politely excuse herself. But no, she ordered an entree. I ordered one too, mostly out of spite. If I was going to be part of this bizarre dinner triangle, I was at least going to have steak. So there we were. 3 people. 1 table. 0 clarity. I kept trying to convince myself that I had misunderstood, that I'd projected date, energy onto something casual. But then the check came, and he paid. For both of us, as in me and her. I offered to Venmo, and he waved me off. "Nah, I've got it." And then he turned to me and asked, "Do you want a ride home?" I hesitated. Was this a trap? But I said yes, because clearly I like to suffer. We walked out. He opened the door for me. I got in. Camila, thank God, went her own way. The second we were on the road, he looked over and said, "So what did you think of tonight?" I stared at him. "What do you mean?" He shrugged. "Just curious." We pulled up to my place. I was about to thank him and make a quick exit when he leaned over and kissed me. Like full-on kiss. Tongue. Hand on my thigh. The whole thing. I kissed him back, mostly out of confusion and muscle memory. But the second I pulled away, I said, "Wait, what was that?" He smiled. "I just wanted to see if there was chemistry." "Oh, okay. Cool." I got out of the car, went inside, and immediately texted my best friend. I think I was just on a date and a job interview at the same time. Because here's the twist. The next day, Nate texts me again. Not to say he had fun. Not to ask me out again. But to ask me what I thought of his Instagram strategy. Thinking of hiring someone to manage my content. "You have a good eye. Would you ever be interested?" "Excuse me? Sir, you invited me to dinner. You made out with me. And this was a job interview?" I didn't even know what to say. I sat there, stunned, replaying the night like a fever dream. And then it hit me. The girl, Camila. She wasn't just another date. She was another candidate. I had been on a 2-woman panel for a man's social media team. And apparently also for his lips. Speech balloon final thoughts. To this day, I don't know what job I was being interviewed for. Brand strategist? Girlfriend? Social media manager / side chick? All I know is, if a man ever invites you to dinner and says, "Just meet me there. Ask one question before you go. Will anyone else be joining us?" Because if I wanted to fight for a position in someone's life, I'd at least expect benefits. And maybe a solo kiss. Brunch is supposed to be a safe space. It's where you go to recover from bad decisions, sip overpriced lattes, and pretend you're the kind of person who always orders fruit instead of fries. It is not supposed to be the setting for a slow-motion emotional ambush disguised as a date. But that's exactly what this was. I met him on Hinge. His name was Ethan. Cute, clean-shaven, very East Coast energy. His profile said he liked long walks, deep conversations, and French pastries, which should have been my first clue. Nobody that emotionally specific about laminated dough is fully okay. Still, he seemed sweet. We messaged for a week, and he asked me to brunch. A proper date. Reserved a table at a spot I actually liked. It had all the right signs: effort, initiative, carbs. I showed up in my best brunch date outfit, breezy but flattering, something that said, "I'm effortlessly adorable and not spiraling about the state of modern dating." He was already seated when I arrived, wearing a crisp button-down and that subtle cologne that makes you lean in a little too close. We hugged hello, that weird little half-hug that first dates start with, and I slid into the booth across from him. He smiled, ordered us mimosas, and complimented my earrings. I thought, wow, this might actually be lovely. And for the first 15 minutes, it was. We talked work, travel, music. He asked thoughtful questions, and I found myself laughing more than I expected. He had this way of tilting his head when he listened, like he was cataloging every word. It felt intentional, rare. Then I noticed the flowers. Sitting on the table, next to his water glass, was a small bouquet of wilting roses. Not wrapped in paper. No vase. Just there. I nodded toward them, smiling. "Those for me?" He paused. "Oh, no. I brought these because this was our spot." I blinked. "Our?" He looked down at the table, then back at me. "My ex and I used to come here. Every year. On our anniversary." I laughed. Thought he was joking. He wasn't. I stared at him. He stared at the flowers. "Wait," I said slowly. "Today is your anniversary?" He nodded, like that was a normal answer. "Yeah. For years ago today, we had our first date here." I put my mimosa down. "And you thought it'd be a good idea to bring someone new to your anniversary spot?" He shrugged. I didn't want to be alone. And that's when I realized I wasn't on a date. I was a living, breathing emotional placeholder. I was a brunch-shaped distraction. I took a long, slow sip of my drink and said, "So, you brought flowers to commemorate your ex during our first date?" He nodded again, and then, I swear to God, He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a card. A literal handwritten card. He placed it next to the flowers, folded shut but clearly addressed to her. She used to love this place, he said softly. Especially the creme brulee. I was speechless. Not because I didn't have thoughts, I had so many, but because I couldn't decide which one to say first. Are you okay? Felt too aggressive. Do you need a therapist? Felt rude. I went with, do you want me to leave? He looked startled. No. I mean, unless you want to. And then, he asked if I wanted to walk around the neighborhood after brunch. There's this bookstore she used to love. I almost laughed out loud. But instead, I said yes. Because at this point, I was too invested. I needed to see how deep the rabbit hole went. Croissant Part 2, the tour. We paid for brunch, separate checks, which felt symbolic, and stepped out into the sunshine. He carried the flowers and the card like he was going to leave them at a grave. We walked a few blocks, and he pointed to a boutique. She used to buy candles there. Then a park. We had our first kiss on that bench. Then finally the bookstore. Inside, he walked straight to a corner shelf and pulled out a copy of a poetry book. She loved this one. I picked it up. It was underlined. Notes in the margins. Her handwriting. He said, I come here sometimes just to read her notes. I was no longer on a date. I was on a guided grief tour. And still I followed him. Maybe because part of me was fascinated. Maybe because I wanted to see what it looked like when someone couldn't let go. Or maybe because I was hoping deep down that he'd realize I was standing right there, alive and open and trying. But he didn't. He just kept talking about her. Her smile. Her laugh. The way she'd correct his grammar mid-sentence and call it editing in real time. By the end of the stroll, I felt like I knew her better than I knew him. We stood outside the bookstore awkwardly. He smiled. Thanks for coming with me today. I nodded. Yeah, sure. Then he reached out and touched my face. Like a gentle caress. Like we were in a Nicholas Sparks movie. I froze. He leaned in slowly. And I, out of sheer confusion, let him kiss me. It was soft. Tender. But wrong. I pulled away. I don't think you're ready, I said. He looked surprised. Ready for what? For me. For anyone. He nodded slowly. Yeah. Then he handed me the card. I stared at it. What's this? He smiled. You should read it. I didn't. I walked away instead. I never heard from him again. Maybe he went back to the brunch spot the next year. Maybe he brought someone new. Or maybe finally he went alone. If a man sends you a playlist before he sends you a plane ticket, block him. That's not advice I would have followed even 6 months ago. Back then, I still believed in small signs and curated soundtracks. I thought a song could mean something. I thought the right lyrics, sent late at night, were a kind of intimacy. I also thought this story was going to end differently. We met the way people do now, online, through a profile that made me pause. He had just enough mystery to be interesting, but not so much that it screamed emotional danger. His photos were soft-lit, not overly polished. He had one of those faces that makes you think he listens to jazz and takes his vitamins. He followed me on Instagram first, then liked one photo, then another, then one from 6 months ago, a vintage thirst trap I'd forgotten about. I knew what was coming next, and he delivered. I feel like we'd really get along. There it was, the deceptively simple line that launched an entire chapter. I replied with a skeptical, "What gives you that feeling?" He wrote back something sharp and funny and slightly cocky. I liked it, the kind of message that makes you sit up straighter while reading. We started talking, first in DMs, then via text. He didn't waste time with small talk. He asked real questions about my writing, about my family, about what I was most afraid of. It felt like he was flipping through pages of me, slowly, like he actually wanted to read the whole story. It felt rare. After a week, he sent me a link. This is what you feel like. It was a Spotify playlist, 39 minutes long, a mix of soul, indie, and slow burn R&B. Songs about longing, about seeing someone clearly, about wanting them too soon. It wasn't just music. It was a message. And I fell for it. Not all at once, but enough to start checking my phone more. Enough to start wondering what he was doing when he didn't text. Enough to feel something unfamiliar and stupidly hopeful. He FaceTimed me 3 nights later. We talked for almost 2 hours. He was charming, but not performative. Had a little rasp in his voice, and the kind of laugh that makes you want to say something funny just to hear it again. He called me honey once, and I pretended not to melt. Every night that week, we FaceTimed again. I'd be lying in bed in a hoodie, no makeup, hair messy, and he'd still look at me like I was the most interesting thing in the room. He played guitar once while I brushed my teeth. Another night, he read me a poem he wrote in college. It wasn't even that good, but the way he said the words made me want to believe every single one. He told me he hadn't felt this way before, that I was different, that I made him feel calm. I didn't know it then, but that was the first red flag. Because when a man says you make him feel calm, what he often means is, I want peace, not depth. And I've never been the peaceful type. Still, I let myself believe him. He lived in another city. Not far, but not close. We talked about meeting halfway. I offered to host. He said he'd fly to me. He booked the flight, sent me the confirmation. I cleaned my apartment, shaved things I hadn't shaved in weeks, and bought the oat milk he mentioned once on a call. The night before his flight, he FaceTimed me from the airport. I've been looking forward to this all week, he said. Me too. He smiled. I smiled. We said goodnight. The next morning I got a text. Hey, I can't come. Something came up. Sorry. That was it. No call. No explanation. Just that. I stared at the screen like it had personally betrayed me. Waited a few hours before replying. What happened? No response. A full 48 hours passed. Then he texted again. Sorry I disappeared. Got overwhelmed. How are you? I wanted to reply with fury. I wanted to say, are you kidding me? But instead I said, you ghosted me. You said you were coming, and you didn't. That hurt. He replied, I know. That wasn't fair. I just freaked out. I've never felt this connected to someone I haven't met. That's the thing about men like him. They know exactly what to say. He wasn't sorry for hurting me. He was sorry it might affect his access to me. And at the time, I couldn't tell the difference. So I forgave him. And he sent another playlist. This one titled, Still Thinking About You. I let him back in. We picked up like nothing happened. He was sweet again. Present. He called me babe now. Started sending me voice notes in the middle of the day. Once, he asked what my favorite candle scent was so he could imagine it when he missed me. He told me he wanted to plan a trip together, that he wanted to take me to a city he loved. He said, you make me feel like I could be better. He said, you have something in your voice that feels like home. And I believed him. Because I wanted to believe him. Because I'm a writer. And because I've always been a little too vulnerable to men who speak in metaphors. Then the fade began. Not all at once. Slowly. Subtly. Longer gaps between texts. Shorter calls. A missed FaceTime. Then too. I asked if he was okay. He said yes. I asked if I did something wrong. He said, you're overthinking again. You always do this. That phrase, you always do this, stuck in my chest like a splinter. It turned the blame inward. Made me feel like I was the problem for noticing the shift. It was emotional sleight of hand. And it worked. So I stopped asking questions. A week later, he posted a story. A dimly lit bar. 2 wine glasses. A woman's hand. He didn't tag her. But I knew. It was a date. The caption? Some nights feel like the beginning of everything. I didn't confront him. I didn't rage text. I just archived the playlist. And then I sat on my couch in silence, letting it all crash over me. The late night calls. The poems. The promises. The intimacy. None of it was fake. But none of it was enough. He liked the feeling of connection, but not the responsibility of showing up. He liked the idea of me, my voice, my writing, my softness, but not the reality of what it meant to follow through. And I realized something then. He didn't ghost me. He faded me. And fading is worse. Ghosting is a slam of the door. Fading is a slow, silent walk backward while smiling. I never heard from him again. No apology. No closure. Just silence. Sometimes, when I'm at a coffee shop and a certain song comes on, I catch myself holding my breath. Sometimes, I wake up thinking I heard my phone buzz, only to find it's nothing. And sometimes, I still wonder if he ever listens to the playlist he made for me. If he ever hits play late at night, just to remember the version of us he never had to commit to. If someone builds you a playlist before they build you a real plan, be careful. Because music is powerful. It can make you feel seen. It can make you feel chosen. But sound fades. And what you're left with isn't the melody, it's the silence that follows. So yeah, he gave me songs. But I wanted something that didn't skip when things got too real. Next time, I won't dance for someone who only presses play when it's convenient. There's a moment, right before a relationship turns completely unhinged, when you look back and realize, oh, it started here. For me, it was the night I woke up and found her rearranging my silverware drawer. At 3:12 a.m. wearing my hoodie, humming a lullaby I didn't recognize. But let me back up. Her name was Lana. We met the old-fashioned way, Bumble. Her profile was cute but vague. A single photo, oddly cropped. No job listed. Just a bio that said, looking for peace and a place to land dizzy dot. Which, in hindsight, was a red flag disguised as poetry. But I was tired of the apps, and she messaged me first. You look like someone who sleeps with the window open. It was weird. It was specific. I was intrigued. We started chatting. She was funny. A little intense. Spoke in metaphors. Said things like, I hate small talk. Tell me about your dreams or your trauma. She claimed to love thunderstorms, hated squirrels, shifty eyes, and once said lavender made her feel watched. I should have run. Instead, I said, want to get a drink? She said yes. We met at a bar downtown. She showed up wearing a long coat and a scarf, even though it was 82 degrees. Her hair was slightly damp, like she'd just showered or sprinted through a car wash. She smelled like eucalyptus and something slightly burnt. But she was beautiful. Not in a conventional way, more like a painting someone forgot to finish. Big eyes. Nervous smile. The kind of face you want to figure out. We talked for 2 hours. She asked me strange questions. Have you ever been in a coma? And told me she used to work in wellness, but didn't elaborate. She was cagey about where she lived. Said she was between places. I figured that meant she was subletting or couch surfing. She didn't order food. Just a hot tea. At a cocktail bar. When I offered her mine, she leaned in and said, I don't eat on first dates. It dulls the senses. I laughed. She didn't. Still, I was into it. She was smart. Quirky. Intense in a way that felt like depth. So when she asked if she could come back to my place just to talk, I said yes. We ended up kissing on the couch. Then more than kissing. Then she stayed the night. I figured we'd hang out again sometime. But the next morning, she was still there. Making eggs. In my shirt. Like she lived there. At first, it was fun. She was affectionate. Made playlists. Gave me long, rambling compliments like, your energy feels like velvet soaked in honey and regret. She said she felt safe with me. That I had kind eyes. That I had basement husband energy, which she assured me was a compliment. She never left. Like never. She didn't even pretend to leave. No, so I'll head out now. No, thanks for having me. Her stuff started showing up slowly. A toothbrush. A tote bag. A single slipper. I asked where she lived. She said, here feels right. I laughed. She didn't. By day 3, I was confused. By day 5, I was concerned. On day 7, I woke up and found her sitting on the floor of my kitchen, whispering to a plant. She looked up and said, he's hungry. You overwatered him. He's drowning in expectation. I made coffee in silence. Later that night, I asked again where she lived. She said she used to stay somewhere upstate, but it was too structured. I asked, like a boarding school? She smiled. Sort of. I asked what she did for work. She said, I'm between incarnations. I laughed again. She didn't. Then things got weird. She started locking the bathroom door, for 20 minutes, just to brush her teeth. She whispered into my closet. She asked if my neighbor's dog was government issued. She left notes around my apartment. Not for me. For herself. One said, do not forget, he is not the doctor. Another, stay grounded. Do not run again. They'll find you. I found one tucked into my shoe that read, kind eyes is not equal to safe hands. I started sleeping with one eye open. It all came to a head when I went to do laundry and found that all my shirts were gone. All of them. I asked her. She shrugged. I buried them. What? She blinked. They had too much memory. Okay, but I need those. She nodded solemnly. They needed release. I told her, gently, that this wasn't working. That she couldn't keep staying. That I needed my space. She looked heartbroken. Then furious. Then completely calm. She nodded. You're right. I've overstayed. I exhaled. Then she added, I'll gather my things. I blinked. Okay. She smiled. Do you have a shovel? That night, I Googled her name. Found nothing. No social media. No job listings. No LinkedIn. No digital footprint at all, except one blurry news article from 2 months earlier. The headline? Patient missing from Elmhurst Behavioral Center. My stomach dropped. The photo was grainy. But it was her. Hair shorter. Eyes the same. I stared at the screen. She'd escaped. 2 months ago. From a psychiatric hospital. I turned around slowly. She was standing in the doorway, holding a glass of water, smiling. "You looked me up." I nodded. She stepped forward, took my hand. "I knew you'd understand. I knew you were different." I held her gaze. And then slowly I said, "You need to go back." She froze, then smiled wider. "You sound just like them." She left the next morning. Or at least, I think she did. She packed her things, all of them, into a single canvas bag, kissed me on the forehead, and said, "Thank you for the shelter. I won't forget your kindness." She walked out. I haven't seen her since. But sometimes I find little things. A pine cone on my windowsill. A note under my pillow. "You were never in danger. You were a resting place." And once, a single egg, fully cooked, uncracked, sitting in my fridge with a post-it that said, "Breakfast for when you miss me." I've been on some bad dates. The "you remind me of my mom" kind. The "oops, I forgot my wallet" kind. The "let's go to a hookah lounge even though you said you hate smoke" kind. But this one was different. Because it wasn't a date. It was a dare. And I didn't find out until the check came. Let me rewind. I met him through friends, which, in hindsight, should have been a safer bet than a dating app. He was friends with a guy I'd worked with. We'd been in the same room a few times. He was cute in that I probably played lacrosse in college way, tall, clean-cut, kind of smug but charming enough to get away with it. Our mutuals kept trying to play matchmaker. You two would be perfect together. He's actually super sweet once you get to know him. He's just shy, that's why he hasn't asked you out. So when he finally messaged me, a casual, "Hey, want to get drinks sometime?" I said yes. I wasn't expecting fireworks. But I was hoping for potential. We agreed to meet at a cocktail bar downtown. One of those moody, candlelit places with velvet booths and bartenders who wear suspenders unironically. I showed up 5 minutes early, because I'm a Capricorn and I plan my exits before I even arrive. He was already there, sitting at the bar. He looked good, better than I remembered. Wore a button-down. Smiled when he saw me. Stood up to greet me. Promising start. We ordered drinks. He asked me about work, and I didn't hate the way he listened. We talked travel, movies, music. He made a joke about dating apps being a psychological game show, and I laughed harder than I meant to. I remember thinking, okay, maybe this could be something. He was flirty, but not pushy. Confident, but not obnoxious. The kind of guy who leans in when you talk, and occasionally touches your elbow like he's testing the waters. Then the second round of drinks came, and he got a little looser. Started telling me stories about his friends. Their group chat. Their wild dares and dumb bets. He laughed almost too hard and said, "You'd probably hate our group chat. It's chaos." I smiled. "Try me." He paused, looked at me, then said, "Actually, this is kind of funny." He leaned in, lowered his voice like he was about to confess something absurd. "The guys dared me to ask you out." Pause. I blinked. "What?" He laughed again like it was hilarious. "Yeah." They were like, "Bet you won't ask her out." So I did. And here we are. I waited for the punchline. There wasn't one. He just kept drinking. I said, "So this wasn't your idea?" He immediately backpedaled. No, I wanted to. I just needed a push." I stared at him. Because here's the thing. I'm not new to male nonsense. I've endured bad dates, weird dates, confusing dates. But this was the first time I realized I had been dared into someone's time. I wasn't a person. I was a challenge. A checkbox. A screenshot in a group chat. He must have sensed the shift in my energy, because he tried to recover. "You're taking this too seriously," he said. "It's not like it was a joke. I actually like you." "Sure you do." I forced a smile. "Cool. So are your friends tracking your progress in real time or?" He laughed again. "No. Maybe. Maybe." I excused myself to the bathroom, sat in a stall and stared at the tile for a minute. Not because I was heartbroken, I wasn't, but because I felt dumb. I had put on lip gloss for this. Let someone buy me a drink for this. Let myself imagine a second date for this. I came back out, composed. He looked up. "You good?" I nodded. "Yep." The check came. He paid. And I left. I never texted him again. He never texted me either. I imagine he sent one last update to his group chat. Date complete. Mission accomplished. Maybe they sent a thumbs up emoji. Maybe they laughed. But me? I stopped letting other people's dares decide how I spend my time. Because I'm not a punchline. I'm not a bet. And if the only reason you're sitting across from me is because someone told you to, leave me alone. I dare you.